Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all for today's e-conference on role of digitization to make chemical industry Aatma. This is the fourth part of our Aatma Bharat chemical series that we have started from September. It will go on till December. The other topics are on R&D on November 6th, MSME on November 27th, PSUs on December 4th, and collaboration on December 18th. Let me, without wasting any time, let me introduce our eminent speakers who are there for today's conference on digitization. We have Mr. Bimal Puri from SRF Technical Textiles, Meghav Mehta from Deepak Phenolics, Navanith Mohan from Aviva, Deepak Keni from DFPCL, Atul Govil from India Glycols, Anant Patil from Praj Industries, Bharat Awasthi from GHCL, Mr. Vivek Gupta from DCM Shriram, Mr. John Rodrigues from Emerson, and I am your host and moderator for today's conference. The duration of the webinar is 90 minutes. And next slide. The key discussion points is let me talk about the context part of it before I go into the key discussion points. So the context part, Sushil. To make the webinar interesting, we have kept exciting prizes for delegates. So some of the questions will be from the presentation part. ICL will be asking questions from delegate during the course of the session, and the one who responds first with the correct answer stands eligible for winning the lucky prize. As a moderator, I will ask questions during the session, and delegates would type the replies in the chat window. I am repeating, I will be asking the questions and the delegates. Here, we are not talking about sponsors. Here, we are not talking about, say, our speakers. And here, we are not talking about the organizers. I'm only talking about the delegates. They can only participate. And they would have to type their replies in the chat window. And the one who is first in the order of priority, and he gives a correct answer, will be declared the winner of that question. And final winners will be announced at the close of the e-conference at 4:30 p.m. time. Now we come back to the key discussion points for the next slide. So what we are talking about is the India and global scenario. We are talking about the digital roadmap of the companies. Some of them are here. They will talk about what the digital roadmap are and what technology they've been using in the different business units for digitization or digitalization or digital transformation, because all these are synonymous in nature. We are also talking about impact of digitization in terms of performance and cost optimization. We are talking about business models, the new business models which will come out due to adoption of digital, supply chain digitization and automation, migration from physical to online platforms, regulatory challenges with respect to digitization, and user experience using analytics, big data to gain insights from customer trends. So our first speaker for today's conference is John Rodrigues. He's Associate Director, SYSS Sales, Emerson Automation Solutions. And I would request if he can talk about his presentation. So over to John Rodrigues. Sir, would request if you can keep your presentation short and complete it within 5 minutes. Over to Mr. John Rodrigues.
Thank you, Praveen, and thank you for the introduction. Very good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to this event organized by the Indian Chemical News. Thank you for this opportunity once again. And can I move to the next slide, please?
Please, Sushil, load the first slide.
So today we are going to talk about the role of digitization to make chemical industry Atmanirbhar. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. A quick word on Emerson Automation Solutions. We are a 130-year-old company, the last 4.5 decades of which have been spent in process automation, starting with the Rosemount pressure transmitter that you all so much love. And, and we have built the portfolio over the decades to up to now 18.4 billion, as you can see. And we are extremely proud of our innovation culture, and which is what we're going to talk about today in this digital transformation journey. And how is it that we can contribute? Next slide. Next slide. How do we make chemical industry Atmanirbhar or self-reliant? Now, production is just one of the things. Anytime you think of a plant, you think of production. But is that the only important thing? Self-reliance is not about just sustaining in a domestic market for our industry. It is also about competing with the global players and winning. So what is it that the large players do? Let's talk about that today. And starting with safety, extremely important. You don't want a CEO of a chemical company going to bed in the night, thinking about some safety incident or having his name in the newspapers the next day. So safety is extremely important for your own brand image, for your own survival of your company. Next comes reliability. Reliability is your production manager should never have to worry about the uptime of your equipment, and there should be never any unplanned downtime. Production is something that we all take for, is the obvious thing that we do. And we'll talk about the productivity tools. Of course, energy and emissions is very important. Now, it's not about just measuring and controlling the energy consumption or controlling the emissions. It's also about predicting the outcomes that are planned and designed rather than something happening by default. Okay, and this is what we are going to talk about today. And last but not the least, it's the empowered workers. Are they able to drive value for your shareholders, for the chemical industry shareholders? Are they empowered, or do they have the right tools in hand to be more productive, is what we're going to talk about. Next slide. So at Emerson, Plant Web Optics platform, this is the platform for digital transformation. You must have heard Plant Web back in the 80s when we launched the smart pressure transmitter. At that time, it was HART. And over the years, Foundation Fieldbus, Wireless HART, a lot of protocols have got added to our basket. And that has got us the amount of data in the field that we have, to be able to serve you in the best way possible. Emerson is absolutely placed in a manner that nobody else is because of the field instrumentation experience. Later on, we have got into control systems, and all of that has served to have a lot of data that you will be using in the form of data lakes, in the form of the infrastructure that you need to gain the possible insights and then convert this into actions to be more productive. So a digital transformation, I like to call it as a productivity tool rather than production. Production is about your control systems, your field instrumentation, your electrical equipment, all of that is used for production. But what you do with digital transformation tools to be able to deliver value, to have incremental production, to gain insight into your probably supply chain, your material management, inventory, all of that. So this digital transformation will help you in that journey. Okay, and so what we like to present is OT in a box. Okay, it is not. So these are very extremely proven solutions rather than having to come to your site and develop something. So absolutely ready to integrate products into the platforms that you have on site. Next. On top of this infrastructure that I just talked about, there are a lot of digitization applications for the chemical industry, starting with safety. a lot of the safety applications will have on-prem solutions rather than IIoT. Okay, the reliability solutions, as you can see, root cause analysis, corrosion monitoring, asset management system to take care of your field instrumentation, machinery health manager, pump condition monitoring. So all of these are applications which either you can run on-prem or in the cloud to be able to be more productive. And then coming to production, the next moving on to analytics, where we talk about AI, ML, or asset health, dynamic batch targeting, root cause analysis, remaining useful life. All of these are important tools and applications for production. Okay, I already talked about energy, energy advisor software. We have mass and energy balance, steam trap health monitoring. All of these applications put together can only help you with your digital transformation journey. I always say that the digital transformation is a customer-owned strategy. You know, it is not that something a vendor can come and deliver to you. A culture has to be built inside your own company to be able to deliver that value that comes out of digital transformation in achieving higher productivity. So that's it, Praveen.
Thank you, Mr. Rodrigues, for your short and sweet presentation. Before I move to my next presentation, I have a quiz question based on the presentation of Mr. John Rodrigues. So I request all my delegates to listen the question very carefully and type their answers on the chat window. The first question is for the contest is name of the Emerson's digital transformation platform. I repeat, name of the Emerson's digital transformation platform. So whoever types the correct answer will be the winner.
I think plant web optics is the right one.
Thank you. I think people are still typing, which is a good sign of making it more interactive. Now, I move to the next presentation. We have with us Mr. Navanith Mohan, Head of Technical Sales India, Aviva. Before I ask Navanith Mohan to speak or give his presentation, I would request Sushil to please play the Aviva video. This is the Aviva intro video. Sushil?
Yeah.
We will announce the winners for all the questions.
Where does potential live? Does it exist in hopes and dreams? Will you find it in fixed mindsets or outdated workflows? No. Potential lives in people. Aviva is the catalyst that turns human potential into the power to move mountains by bringing people and technology together. Now you can break down silos and drive value chain optimization to deliver sustainability and growth. And organizations all over the world can leave traditional benchmarks and KPIs in the dust. Chemical companies can manage production, supply chain, quality, and process optimization with visibility for sustainable and profitable manufacturing. Close gaps, fine-tune operations, and turn your people into pioneers with a clear path to innovation. It's bigger, bolder thinking that improves how you work and protects the world you're working for. Aviva knows that potential lives in people, and your people are ready to move mountains. Aviva, we'll take you there.
Nokia facility at Chennai with best-in-class infrastructure.
Navinji, you're on mute.
After this intro video from Aviva, I would request Mr. Navanith Mohan to give his presentation. Sushilji, please give him rights for sharing screen to Navneet ji. Would request Sir Navneet ji if you can be short and precise and finish.
You can confirm. Yeah, thank you. If you can confirm that you can see the screen and hear me.
Yeah, we can see the screen. We can also hear you properly, sir.
So great. Thank you, Praveen. Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you and your families are doing good and keeping safe. Thank you, Indian Chemical News, for this opportunity. It's a great pleasure to be with you as we discuss the role of digitization in to make chemical industry in India Aatma. My name is Navneet Mohan, and I represent Aviva. We are a 50-plus-year-old industrial solution provider with over 4,600 talented employees in 80 locations across the world. We offer cutting-edge solutions tailored to your local market needs, and we help our customers and partners to drive digital transformation across the entire operation and asset lifecycle. As an organization, we are focused and committed on innovation. We enable new ways to approach traditional problems, uncover new business opportunities, discover how you can eliminate inefficiencies, optimize processes, improve profitability, and drive new operating culture. Some of the benefits and savings that you see on the screen speak for itself, and we are fully committed to our customer organization to help them achieve it. Some of you might have already seen this chart before. This shows the digital maturity of the different industries. You would notice that the digital transformation of industries like chemical is at a point of inflection. There is a lot of scope and possibilities for digital transformation in the chemical industries when we compare ourselves with industries like IT and finance. And we also know that chemical industry is constantly changing and getting more and more competitive. Innovation and digitalization will be essential to create the differentiation and the agility needed for the business. There are many challenges that need to be addressed, and the priority changes from one organization to another. The instability in the energy industry and the constant need to test new raw materials directly impact the profitability. Integrated value chain becomes a key component to manage the flow of goods, to decrease costs, and improve logistics. We see increasing pressure on safety and environmental regulations, and this is continually expanding and becoming less harmonized globally. As we all know, being a capital-intensive industry, we require careful management of invested capital, and there is always a conflict between the need for new investment to increase production and the finance trying to control the capital investments. On the employee side, there is a need to upskill the workforce to keep the operation safe, retain employees, and attract young generation to manufacture. All these can impact sustainability initiatives. A CEO survey done last year rates sustainability as the top priority for the future. If you see, digitization, sustainability, and workforce enablement goes hand in hand. Due to the current pandemic situation, industrial landscape has changed drastically. We all know that. Companies that we are working with are planning to reevaluate the capital projects, safeguard autonomous operation, support their teams who are working digitally, and ensure agile supply chains. This situation has accelerated adoption of new digital technology, and there is a sharp emphasis to redefine the strategic priorities. This is a right time to change the strategies. Our customer base in chemical industry includes some of the biggest and the best performing companies in the sector. As I mentioned before, each organization has their own focus area and priorities on digital transformation. Eastman Chemical uses our plant engineering and asset information to enable their flagship digitization initiative, which seeks to break down the silos between information and realize the benefits of Industry 4.0. Covestro uses Aviva process simulation for new product development, addressing process, operating conditions, and utilities in a single simulation environment, promoting collaboration and agility across the plant lifecycle. BASF has been using our process optimization since the last 20 years for online optimization of the ethylene crackers, offline evaluation of the feedstock, and calculation of project benefits. Plascon uses Aviva batch solution for improved quality and productivity and to achieve cost efficiencies. Now, this is done by strict recipe control, traceable batch parameters, and consistent product quality. Ascent Performance Materials uses our mobile operator solutions, and this has helped them to achieve $3.5 million in efficiency and maintenance savings in the first 2 years. There are many examples of digital transformation initiatives like this, and as I mentioned before, Each customer have their own priority areas which they would like to focus on. Let us talk in short about our capabilities. Digital twins are the enablers of new ways of working. Our approach uniquely delivers a platform of data which enables both lifecycle source of reliable, actionable insight as well as context-driven digital twins. Our portfolio can be categorized into 3 lifecycle stages: engineer, operate, and perform. Engineering solutions that help you design and build a plant. Operational solutions like your plant historians, manufacturing execution systems, operation management solution, liquid gas management applications, etc. And solutions that help you increase the performance of your assets, whether it is to define your asset strategy to maintain your assets, optimize your processes, or manage your supply chain. By leveraging data created at every stage of the life cycle from design and build to operate and maintain, we provide a practical and efficient way to deliver and maintain the digital twins. Our solutions are open and agnostic to leverage data from others, from Aviva and other vendors. This enables a platform exploitation, innovation at every layer of the technology stack and across the life cycle. Added to that, the capabilities to deliver all these solutions through the cloud and our flexible enterprise subscription models to consider the varying usage requirement to manage the technology cost and protecting your ROIs. With this, we come to the short presentation. Feel free to let us know if you have any questions. Thank you for listening. Over to you, Praveen.
Thank you, Mr. Navanith Mohan, for a good presentation on Aviva. And you had a long list of customers. So the next quiz question is on the customer itself. And I would request all my delegates to listen the question very carefully. And they should type in their questions in the chat window. My question starts: name any 2 customers of Aviva. I repeat, name any 2 customers of Aviva. I think everybody has listened to your presentation very carefully after that initial hint that we gave in the first question. So we are in the chat window. I can see the numbers already reaching 99 plus. So we have already reached the 3-figure mark. Now we come to the interesting part, having listened to both the gentlemen from the sponsor side. Now we have an interesting set of speakers with us from the industry with different backgrounds, which is good for us because some of them are CIOs, some of them are CTOs, some of them are directors, some of them have done what we can say digital transformation projects in their respective departments. So this mix is ideal for discussing digitization. To start with, I would request Mr. Bimal Puri, VP and CIO. Before I start, I'm planning to have two rounds of questions from all of you in the panel, and then we will open it up for the Q&A. So I would request everybody to be short and precise, to the point, so that it will help us to take more questions at the end of the panel discussion. So to Mr. Bimal Puri, VP and CIO SRF Technical Textiles, my first question, sir, is because unless and until we talk about the challenges, it becomes extremely difficult to know how this can be deployed. So my first question to you is the critical challenges with respect to digitization. Over to Mr. Bimal Puri.
Thank you, Praveen. I'm Bimal this side from SRF. And the challenge is, like, when we talk about the topic given is that Aatma chemical industry. So when I say Aatma means that we talk about growth and we talk about innovation first. So the major challenge is that we need to provide data and insights to develop new markets and business models. So we need to have that quality of data around with us. Then another challenge, what we need to do is that we need to create a new value chain interactions to reduce the frictions and enable collaborative platforms, which will enable and help people. So we don't have that level of digitization in this field. And another key challenge for becoming an Aatma and talk about growth and innovation is that reduce time to market, which is a very, very key thing to new products and the process technologies. And I think digital world is moving towards a complete automation in these areas, where we need to be focused on digitizing all our new product development initiatives, be it on a technology group or be it as a part of any part of any function. So this is a very key challenge. And then the second challenge comes is that how I'm going to optimize cost. So optimize cost means that I need to focus on the optimization, the performance of my plant, right? And another important challenge, the sustainability, which John also talked about, is that when we talk about the sustainability and the circular economy, so we have to harvest the insight from the data streams and adopt new digital operating models to achieve higher maturity on sustainability and stimulus performance on clean technologies like environment also John touched about. So it's a very critical part when it comes to the chemical industries. So where you have a lot of compliance to be done around that subject. So the new clean technologies can predict carbon footprint of the new products also. That is another key area which we need to focus on. So in total, what I want to say, summarize is that digital transformation cannot be now seen standalone. Your business model or your business strategy should be digital in nature. So it should be part of the business model itself. That's from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Bimal Puri, for your short and sweet info on the challenges part. I come back to Mr. Atul Govil, India Glycols, and I would also ask him about the challenges in terms of digital transformation and the way it needs to be looked into is it needs to be holistic. So if you can talk about the challenges from a holistic manner, it will be useful for our delegates. So over to Mr. Atul.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, India Chemical News and team for having me here. I think I'll just add to what Bimal just mentioned. I think if you talk about digital transformation, there are a few aspects. If I talk about a typical chemical or a typical manufacturing setup, all these years, we've all been focused on digitization of sorts, maybe enabling some transaction flows through maybe some ERPs, CRMs, portals, HRMS, or in the IT domain. And on the OT side, we have looked at the DCS and the PLC systems, and each of these systems have been working in isolation till so far. So when you talk about digital transformation, first of all, I think the very understanding of what it entails and what value it can create for an enterprise is it in itself a big challenge, because first of all, the top leadership, for them to digest the value it can create, so you need to have the right team members within the organization who can speak about it confidently, and maybe showcase some pilots within the enterprise with domain heads, so that it can create that much confidence. Yes, these technologies can create differentiated value or a competitive edge, so to say. That is one. Second is, I think we also have limited domain expertise in the vendor partners, if I see. And what we see is people are doing some POCs through some partners, but beyond the POC, the proof of concept, the project doesn't move further. So it becomes like a POC trap, so to say. It doesn't go any further. I think I would like to mention that you need to dedicate the right resources, have the right efforts. If you need doctors for something, you just cannot have engineers to drive it. So you have to have the right dedicated resources. That is one. Then, given the siloed departments, the IT team working separately, the OT team working separately, there is no particular owner of a digital transformation project, so to say. Who owns the data? Who will review it? How frequently it has to be reviewed? Who will clean the data? Whether it is transactional, master, or whatever. That's another. And I think the couple of the important aspects is the interoperability across these disparate systems we would have created in the last 20-30 years of existence. of each of these companies. That's another issue. And last but not the least is the cybersecurity aspect, which are linked with the electronic data interchange, APIs or system interconnects. That's another issue which is there. So put together, no, I think with all these challenges, the office of the CFO or the office of the CEO is actually not so confident that why they should spend that incremental capital expenditure to drive any digital transformation project. That's that, and because of these trust issues, people continue with the old order. So that is what is the key challenge. And I just want to highlight that within the enterprise, in our setup in India Glycols, what we have done is we have this transformation office which is driven by me. So I have been entrusted to drive not just digital transformation but business transformation initiatives. And we, along with the domain team, wherever they are required, we create these cross-functional team members to drive specific projects in their respective domains. So it helps create that degree of buy-in, and also adoption is far easier. There is far lesser resistance to change because the domain team also is involved right from inception. So that's something which is very fundamental for any such transformation project. I'll take a pause. If you have any questions on this one, maybe I can highlight, otherwise we can move on.
Atul, we will take the questions later on. And in the second track, we are going to talk about the digitization achievements that you have done, which you briefly talked about. Thank you, Atul. Now I would request Meghav Mehta, a young man, and I saw his CV. He talks about digital transformation projects that he has done in his company, which is a very good sign. And at a very young age, and young people do a lot of changes, or embrace it, is the first one to embrace change, so which is good. So my first question to him is, how do you link Atmanirbhar to digitization? He somehow feels that Atmanirbhar and digitization do not go hand in hand, but we would like to have your views, sir. Over to Meghav.
Good afternoon, everybody, and Pravinji, thank you for this invitation. It has, ever since that headline flashed in front of me, the role of digitization in chemical companies and its role in Atmanirbhar, it did take me a bit of time to actually connect the dots, and I worked on it backwards, asking myself, Atmanirbhar, what is self-sufficient? And understanding that self-sufficiency starts from self-interest. Understanding what is important for us, understanding what is important, even if we say starting with me, understanding where I am today and what my future is. Slowly expanding the me to we, from me to my family, to my colleagues, to my company, and expanding further to us as the industry, and then us as the nation. So a good understanding of the elements of Atmanirbhar need to first happen before we can talk about digitization. As the chemical industry, we see that there are certain elements that India seems to do well in. It's, be it low cost of labor, be it good, support from governments on certain initiatives. Definitely now with, what we're seeing in the news with profit-linked incentives and things like that. But there are certain places where we are not globally competitive. And the intent is for every company to get there. Every good company that looks at growth, that looks at a future, the intent is to be globally competitive. That is where digitization definitely plays a very big role. We are not going to be able to get onto the exponential curve that digital offers unless we are setting up strong foundations in technology, strong foundations in digital. But that still is only half of the game. As a few of us have already mentioned before, culture is a big component, and our people and bringing digital into their mindsets is a big component of how we can actually embrace digital to deliver a strong chemical industry in India, which over time becomes a strong and Nirbhar chemical industry, and hence helps to deliver on our country's vision of Nirbhar.
Thank you, Meghav, for this track one part of it. Now I would request Mr. Navanith Mohan, if he can talk about having listened to few of his partners or would-be probable partners, how is he talking about supporting an integrated roadmap, and what are some of the compelling benefits of a digital twin? Over to Navanith.
Very well said by the panelist, Pravinji, with all relevant points. See, this cannot be a one size suits all kind of an approach, because different organizations have their different focus area in the way they want to grow with digital transformation. The way we support our customers on that is we do a acceleration consulting where we engage with the customer to understand their focus and the current issues, and then do a detailed diagnostic and work with the customer to help them shape and accelerate the transformation strategy, because everybody will have their own bottlenecks, some traditional way they have been working in their organization. So this is why for each and every customer engagement, we need to really define the roadmap that is specific to that customer. And we have been doing it with many of the customers. If you have seen the latest one we have done with SCG Chemicals, where we have worked with SCG Chemicals and established a strategic partnership to develop something called as a digital reliability platform, which they call as DRP, which is basically an asset performance management solution for the predicting the health, monitoring performance, and enabling the advanced maintenance across their assets. So this is a good example of bringing in the data and technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, predictive analytics into one single practical solution to empower the workers. The other part of that is that whatever we do has to be applicable to the workers in the organization, because they are actually the last mile of your digital transformation initiative. They are the people who realize this transformation initiative, they are the people who are using it, and they are the people who finally helps you to cross that last step of the digital transformation. So as long as we can take it to their level where they can consume and benefit, understand the benefits of it, that will be the last, the closing loop of every digital transformation initiative of the organization.
Thank you, Mr. Navanith Mohan. Now I would request Mr. Deepak Keni, if he can talk about the challenges with respect to digitization before and after, with more stress on digitization challenges after, because most of the people have talked about the before part of it. I would like to listen from him more about the challenges which are faced during or after during the implementation or after when the digitization is in the process. So over to Mr. Deepak Keni.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you for this opportunity. I think the question is right when we look at the digitization journey. And while the initial conceptualization and the design part is important, it is the sustainability part which is most important, because the organization spends a lot of resources and bandwidth in implementation of the digital initiatives. And then the challenge becomes in proving the return on investment, the sustainability, and the business impact, correct? So that becomes a struggle for most organizations, essentially. And the challenge for most of them is to say, how can I ensure that it becomes part of our, I would say DNA, I would use the word as DNA. So during the implementation and post-implementation, make the relevant changes, because we talk about digital, but digital also means ways of working, the cultural change, which was highlighted before. Of course, processes are always there. SOPs and procedures have to be changed, but it has to be a motivation factor, which has to drive the change within the organization. Technology is as good as the people who use it, right? In that sense. So unless we ensure that the adoption is there from all the digital factors, and what the question also comes, I think, to be answered while promoters, organization thinks about it, it is at each individual level to say that this transformation, what is in it for me? So from a employee perspective, it is the skill sets. I heard about the skill sets. The skill sets improve. You're being ready for the future. Organization, of course, gets benefit in terms of return on investment. And then you are hopefully becoming agile enough to say that tomorrow any change which I want to bring in, my organization is ready to things which we need to talk about and address during the implementation and post-implementation.
Thank you, sir. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Now, I would request Mr. Anant Patil from Praj Industries, if he can talk about digitization and digitalization. How will it impact plant operations, whether it is a brownfield or a greenfield kind of operations?
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks, Mr. Praveen. Actually, digitization, once we convert the analog information into the digital, so in many plants which are brownfield or greenfield, generally people are mostly using the PLC and SCADA for getting the plant operation, and also some ERP for the operations and some other small softwares to get the data from the plant operation. But now major also in major plants, now data of maintenance is still in the analog form and measured and recorded manually in the plant, and that has to be gone into the digitization so that we can place the sensors and get indication in the rotating or equipments, and then preventive maintenance alerts and analytics can be generated, and that can save a lot of money for the plant operation. So in digitalization, if we see digitized data is used for the plant operation benefit in two terms, or two benefits, major benefits. One is OPEX reduction benefit, and another is the plant availability benefit. So for OPEX reduction benefit, if you see by analyzing raw material consumption pattern versus efficiency, utility consumption, plant operation overheads, one can monitor the cost of production on real-time basis, which generally is the major factor for the profitability and increasing the profits in the plant operation. Second is the using just-in-time concept for all input or purchases. One can do the logistic and transportation management to reduce the inventory carrying cost. Now, if you are reducing the inventory in the plant, lot of allied costs get reduced substantially from safety point of view, storage point of view, handling point of view, then working capital point of view, and that will, because of this just-in-time concept, one can use that from the digitalization platform. Also, from history and data analytics, plant operation parameters can be optimized to reduce the consumption cost. So these are the one or two things, major things from OPEX reduction point of view. From plant availability point of view, by knowing production status at different stages along with plan versus actual production, one can plan optimize the production. Then shift-wise production efficiency can help analyzing spare capacity available in the plant. Then also overall equipment section effectiveness about the capacity utilization will also help in optimizing the production capacity. Mainly the warehouse management can help in increase or decrease plant capacity and avoid stoppages and restart of the plant stage. So these are the some of the list of benefits which are there, and these are the some examples. Also from data, one can analyze how loss of capacity due to unplanned shutdown or downtime can be reduced to increase the profitability of plant. This makes business more profitable and sustainable. Actually, for brownfield, collection of the data from the plant is a major constraint, and there we have to actually educate the manpower also. There we have to enhance their skills, how to we have to use certain digital instruments to collect the data, and that can get collected into the system, and then the people in the office like purchase or maintenance planning person or management can plan the total optimization of the plant operation, which will end up in giving the enhancement of the profitability in the business. So this is what I want to add into the subject.
Thank you, Mr. Patil. Now I would request Mr. Vivek Gupta, DCM Shriram, if he can talk about the digitization journey in his company with respect to digital roadmap and technology usage. So over to Mr. Vivek Gupta.
Thank you, Mr. Praveen, and thank you, Indian Chemical News, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be among the great people of the industry. As this digitization is also known as Industrial Internet of Things. So here the last word is things. Now I just want to say over here that what are all those things? See, most of the plants are automated. We have a good DCS system which is existing in the plants, and plant operations are totally automated. But what about those equipment or those assets or those instruments which are still not on DCS? So what we strongly feel at DCM over here is that those who are not connected should be first of all brought either in the DCS or through a separate kind of instrumentation. Now here just I want to bring 3-4 important points which are to be there. Number one is off-site equipment, like we talk instrument air compressors or VAM machines. Those are normally not operated from the centralized DCS system. So if we can bring their operations from DCS, one option, or their running status can be brought inside the control room for the shift in charge. So that will give them the insight of what is happening in the field. Number two is another kind of thing which we can do is to bring about the awareness of the people. See, normally digitization or IIoT becomes the baby of instrumentation department. But here the cross-functional team has to be there. When I say cross-functional, mean from process, mechanical, electrical, and instrument. The strength of these 4 departments can really bring about. So what we can do is we can address the pain points. If digitization can address the pain points of the running plants, nothing can be better than that. Because after all, the plant is running through DCS. We have the continuous operation round the clock. But there are still points for which the person has to go to the field and see, or there are issues which are not available on DCS. I give you a small example. Like there are pressure, number of hundreds of pressure gauges are there inside the plant for the start of a pump, where an operator goes, sees the pressure over there, and then start, stop, whatever actions are being done. Can this be converted into a wireless kind of a pressure gauge cum transmitter? Number 2, all plants are being fed with power. Now what happens if there are failures like short circuits or overheating of the contacts or breakers or cable joints? So here at DCM, as a kind of a small project, what we have done is we have put some wireless sensors on the 11 kV HT cable joints. Now so far these joints temperature were monitored only through a predefined interval. But now we have kept wireless instruments for some few 12 joints as a start. And we have seen that now the electrical guys are able to see the temperature and they can take action. Similarly, the circuit breakers, where you are not supposed to open the panel in the running condition of the plant, they are also inside the temperature and humidity is being measured. So that is one of the good things which can be done. Then second thing is the remote operation. Remote operation can be a wonderful option for some of the machines which are operated only from the field. That can be also done. And then what we have found is the real challenge lies is that there is no strong team to take it forward. There has to be some ownership. Like some people have made it a chief reliability officer or chief digital officer, something that kind of a team. Because the team who is doing the maintenance and engineering, they are all the time occupied in the plant maintenance and other, work. So if there is a strong team headed by a person and then people from cross-functional are there, we can definitely succeed in this journey. And no doubt such pilot projects should be done to gain the confidence, because after all, at the end of the day, it is the return on the investment which the higher management looks for. So if we can get that kind of confidence to them, then certainly this digitization journey will bring a lot in the plants for safe operations, because safety is, as of time, is on the topmost. At DCM, what we have done is we have a SAP system with us, and even the work to permit system, which is normally it has to be initiated by the department, then it goes to safety, then it goes to civil or IT department if we have to do a digging work, and then go to the process guys. So all these processes are now automatic on SAP. And finally, when everyone has cleared, then only that permit is issued. It's a kind of a small example. We are looking for the paperless kind of a job in the current scenario. So this is what I want to tell about the digitization.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Now let us understand from Emerson, those who have already started the digital transformation journey, but those who are planning to start the digital transformation journey, where do they start the digital transformation journey, whether it is a plant or an enterprise? So if you can talk about that, it would be beneficial for people who have not yet started the journey. Because if I was seeing the chart from Aviva, IT and telecom has done pretty well in terms of digital adoption, but chemical is on a lower level. So that's the reason this question is very important. So over to John Rodrigues.
Yeah, thanks, Praveen. So I think this is one of the fundamental questions that come up whenever we talk to customers. And so digital transformation is different for different people. For everyone is a different perspective on this. Okay, and DX is not a task. It's not a it's not like you implemented a project, you implemented a DCS or a control system, and you're done with after commissioning. So this is a journey. So we have to understand that it's a journey, and people get very big about it. Suddenly start thinking AI, ML, whether the AI is going to come and run the plant. It's not about that. So this journey is going to continue for at least in the near future, maybe for the next decade. So the first thing to understand is what are the issues that you want to deal with? Is it maintenance? Is it production? Is it supply chain, inventory? So you can pick something that to run with. Okay, so let me take a small example. Suppose operator logbook. Okay, so the plant operators, a DCS operator is logging into a logbook. Now this is not doesn't look very glamorous per se. Nothing that somebody might end up getting a president award or something. But if you look at it, if you go and talk to the operator, he might have some reservations. He might not like the idea also. He may not know that he needs it. Okay, but once you give it to him, then he has got that. You have built a certain infrastructure for that. Either you do it on a tablet or a phone or any PC or any device, and you suddenly got an infrastructure. You will realize that your healthy operator, he also after the shift handover and those things are becoming very smooth. He's not tied to a desk at the end of the shift or running to his transport. He can on his way type in what he dealt with in his particular shift. And so suddenly after having this infrastructure, you will have a lot of data, and that is directly coming from the horse's mouth for the management. So when you build it into a data lake, you can pull out use cases, you can apply analytics, you can. So one thing is to get data from the data gateways such as the DCS, SCADA, PLC, and all the OT equipment. But one thing is actually hearing from the person, and definitely there'll be more and more insights in this, and which will then help productivity. Why certain things happen? Why a certain raw material probably produces a better batch or a faster batch or a golden batch. Those kind of manual inputs will help with higher productivity when we analyze this data.
Thank you, Mr. Rodrigues.
And so,
yeah, please, you were saying something.
So I'm saying on the use case, so this is just one use case I said, sky is the limit for this, you can just go on expanding, which is why I said it is a journey.
Thank you, Mr. Rodrigues. Our, what we can say in this particular round, Bharat is the last speaker, but in the second round, he will be the first speaker. So we would be changing the turns. But Bharat has been the one who has worked in different portfolios and has done pretty well. So I wanted to understand from him, what are the digital interventions required for digitization? I'm talking about the digital interventions. So if you can be very precise on the digital interventions part.
So I think you set it up. Thank you for the opportunity. And I think the speakers have covered a lot of very important aspects before my talk. And I'll pick up from the first 3 or 4 sessions or answers where we talked about sustainability, we talked about scalability, production consistency, asset reliability, and health and safety. I think some of the adoption in the chemical industry for the industry to be self-sufficient, it will be important that across 4 areas work needs to be done. We've talked about almost everything, but I'll repeat. So first part is the unlocking operational efficiencies, and this is with the aim of providing consistency to our production process through Industry 4.0 IoT applications that enable advanced analytics and visualizations for the people operating the plant to make decisions quickly and give them that analytics quickly. And so examples would be digital twins, etc. The second part would be increasing asset availability and adopting risk-based predictive maintenance strategy rather than going for a preventive maintenance. We'll see more maturity towards predictive maintenance in times to come, where big data analytics capabilities would enable organizations to identify and discover patterns from historical data to predict and identify triggers prior to a breakdown event. So that would be the second area that's going to happen. There's a lot of movement around this area in the global markets, and I'm sure Indian market would move towards that area as well. Third, very important, is how do we support competence building in our operations? And that's where I believe tools that are powered by AR would be really beneficial for our field engineers and technicians who would be doing the actual troubleshooting on the field. Another area is the operator training simulators, particularly for the production people. So this has been there for quite some time, but I see limited adoption across the chemical industry consistently. The fourth very important part would be supply chain and distribution logistics, particularly in the Indian scenario, where the logistics sector needs a major is going through a lot of improvements, and rightly so. It is very essential. There's limited penetration of technology in this sector, primarily because of the presence of unorganized operators, small and unorganized operators, and that's where we're seeing a lot of formalization happening and a lot of technology-driven business models underpinned by a more collaborative approach are coming up. So these are the 4 areas where I see a lot of digital interventions coming in the chemical sector. We're unable to hear you. Praveen, you muted.
Thank you, Mr. Bharat Awasthi.
Yeah,
before we go to the second round, let me announce the winner for the first set of questions. The question was with respect to name of Emerson's digital transformation platform. There were many who have replied, but some of them have not replied the complete part. The platform is called Plant Web Optics. Some have written Plant Web, some have written Optics. So the correct answer is, and the winner is Mr. Ramesha N from Resil Chemicals. A big hand of to Mr. Ramesha N from Indian Chemical News. We will announce the winners as we move forward. To create interest, I am just asking the third question, which is very simple, and I think those who are in the chemical and fertilizer sector will be able to answer this simple question. So please listen to me very carefully, and I would request everybody to please type your answers only in the chat window, not in the Q&A section. Because if you type on the Q&A section, it would be difficult for us to track. So my earnest request is please type on the chat window itself. The question is, who is the Union Cabinet Minister for Chemicals and Fertilizers in India? I repeat, who is the Union Cabinet Minister for Chemicals and Fertilizers in India? I think I'm not seeing too many answers. I think the IT people wants to be more aware about their technology. So the next set of questions would be from IT. And I expect more answers at that point of time. Before I go to the, the second track, which is more on the experience of digital, or what digital transformation is talked about, let me run you the Covestro video of Aviva. I would request my colleague Sushil if he can run the video.
$1,200 people. Today we are using during the life cycle of our plant several tools that don't connect to each other well in the area of process simulation, process design, automation, operator training simulation, performance monitoring, or online optimization.
Now we have one single platform and everyone can use the same tools to work on the problems and focus on that instead of learning a new tool every time. SimCentral presents a paradigm change in process simulation in that it includes all the different ways a process simulation can be set up. We can have a steady state simulation, a dynamic simulation, or pressure-driven simulation, all in the same tool. Coupled together with a very flexible and robust and fast open equation solver, we are now able to tackle problems that we were not able to solve before. Previously, in process engineering, there's been a distinct cutover from process engineering to control engineering. There has been very clearly defined interfaces what each part had to produce, and once it was handed over, there was no going back. Now with SimCentral simulation platform, it is possible to interactively work on the same process from different points of view, from process engineering and control engineering point of view, to solve these problems together.
Our first goal in this field is to bring all the information we have on our plants, on our processes, on our equipment together. Then the next step is to migrate the most important models from our old software to the new one.
The single greatest benefit SimCentral offers to our operations, it is an easy to use and intuitive user interface. With the introduction of user roles, it is possible to just show the absolute necessary level of detail and information to every user according to his role and level of expertise, so that he's able to fulfill his duties with the simulator. Now we are able to introduce SimCentral not only in process engineering, plant engineering, but also operation support.
It's beyond just simulation. It's going to be able to actually create that digital twin that both us as well as Covestro covet together. And that's the key to our partnership.
Digital transformation of our production is in line with our holistic view of the asset lifecycle, which goes hand in hand with the aim for standardization and simplification. SimCentral meets those needs.
Thank you, Sushil. Now I come back again to Mr. Bharat Awasthi, and I would request him if he can talk about what all digitization strategy has been implemented in GHCL and what is the roadmap ahead that he's thinking about in terms of Industry 4.0. So over to.
Thanks, Pravinji.
Would request everybody to be short and sweet so that we can complete our panel discussion by 4:30 and then open it up for Q&A for another 15 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So at GHCL, what we've done is we've defined, in collaboration with our technology, with a technology partner, we've defined our journey of next 3 to 5 years. And we've identified what are the value creation areas for us. And on the basis of that, we've identified the 3 basic buckets of the whole digital investment that we talk about. So the first part is the basic infrastructure, the nuts and bolts of the IT infrastructure. So that's one area where we continuously look to upgrade and keep our systems up to date. The second area largely relates to our business process automation. We have the habit of continuously challenging ourselves to do whatever we do in a better way, in a better manner. So from that perspective, what all we need to do in terms of automations, be it RPAs, be it adoption of new tools like SAP Business Planning and Consolidation, Treasury Management, COPA, and we're one of the few or perhaps first organizations in the chemical industry in India to adopt the embedded transportation management of SAP 1809 version. So that's the second bucket. And the third bucket is the advanced analytics side, and that's where the IoT and Industry 4.0 principle comes in, where we've identified our 21 to around 20 odd use cases for adopting for IoT journey in our manufacturing site, and then we've prioritized that with regards to what needs to be done first and what needs to be done later on. And what's all important in digitalization or digitization journey is that we'll have to move from a consultative approach to a collaborative approach, and that's where the culture piece comes in, and that's where one of our panelists mentioned that what happens post implementation. That's where it comes together, that a shared vision needs to be created in collaboration with all the necessary stakeholders, and then along with the technology partner ourselves and the actual users, we need to work together to accomplish our objectives. So that's pretty much it on the GHCL digitization strategy and how we've chalked out our roadmap. Just to add one more point. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. Just to add one more point. We firmly believe that excellence is a journey. So what we've done 3 to 5 years journey that we've plotted, we need to continuously revisit, revamp, and probably relook at it and redefine our vision every 3, 4, 5 years. So it's going to stay, it's going to continue. There's no looking back.
Thank you, Bharat. Now I come back to Mr. Rodrigues. How do we see, what are the limitations of digital transformation journey, and what is the role do you see of industrial IoT in terms of energy efficiency? Energy efficiency is one very big aspect, and it's a big cost. And every company is now looking at either looking for green energy or trying to reduce cost wherever it is possible. So any solutions that you do have, Mr. Rodrigues?
Yeah, I'll talk. Thanks for the question, Praveen. I think first let me take the the first question. Are there any pitfalls and And are there any limitations? Is that the question? So see, I mean, sometimes we can, so once a roadmap is defined, what is it that you want to get from the digital transformation? It's not about putting more sensors in the field, having more softwares deliver KPI dashboards to you and a lot of information. It's about also having to have the ability and having the culture to improve your work processes. I'm healthy because not because I have a lot of sensors attached to my body and lot of doctors around me. I'm healthy because I work out. So so you need to keep your body fit. You need to exercise. There has to be physical activity. So it's the same with in this case the workforce culture, whether they are willing to adapt to this new way of working, and how is it that a maximum data can be more productive in terms of the information that is available, in terms of learning and being more productive. About energy, you asked me. So I think we have IoT has brought a lot of things to the to our table which are not available earlier. In terms of we see great things mostly. The communication networks, the analytics, and so the software can not only tell us when we are exceeding certain energy pattern consumption patterns, or when we are exceeding certain limits, but it will also build models, what we call digital twins, to be able to provide us root cause analysis, and corrections can be made to the upcoming consumption. So you're predicting the consumption patterns and correcting the course while it is happening. So this is extremely important now, not after it has happened or not as a corrective action, but actually while it is happening. So these are some of the things that we are that are being dealt with, that are being implemented at Emerson with various customers. Can't hear you.
Very brief
you are on silence.
Yeah, one very brief answer which I wanted to know from you, Mr. Rodrigues, is suppose if somebody goes for an industrial IoT, in terms of energy efficiency, any percentage that you could talk about, okay, that this has resulted in saving of this much, just a percentage part, so that our audience will get a view of, if they go for it, this is how they have been able to manage it, or a band if you can talk about.
Yeah, definitely we have seen savings up to 20 to 25%, and of course this will depend on the domain of that particular it's very difficult to put a chemical industry in perspective sometimes. Specialty chemicals or alkali chemicals, non-alkali, there are so many segments, so it would be very difficult to put a percentage, but yes, we have done we have some examples where we have a 20 to 25% saving.
Just before I thank you, Mr. Rodrigues. Before I jump to my next next speaker, I am just shooting another question. This is the fourth question from our side. I would request all my delegates to please listen carefully and type their answers on the chat window. This is an IT related, so everybody would be knowing. So it is not a who is the chemical minister. The question is, what is the full form of IIoT? What is the full form of IIoT? You can type in your answers quickly. I repeat, what is the full form of IIoT? Please type the complete. So coming to Vivek Gupta. Vivek, if you see, there are in a plant, you have what we can say different different units, and each of them are having what we can say a legacy. Some of them are brownfield or some of them are greenfield. So how do you do a balance in terms of the digitization journey with respect to brownfield and greenfield, and then try to merge them and finally get an output which is of use to you? as you move forward. Because it's very difficult to get what we can say sensors for brownfield operations. Some of the equipments are 30 to 35 years old. So how do you manage and also move in that direction so that you take this and also benefit in the long run in terms of productivity and efficiency?
Yeah, I mean, very good, Praveen. Our Kota complex of DCS of DCM is more than 50 years old, and we are having the plant systems which are upgraded in the recent last 5-7 years. There are some systems which are still old, but as far as the equipment are concerned, the assets are concerned, they are quite old. So it's really a very challenging kind of a thing. And then the one most important part is the cyber threat. Let me tell you that in our DCM complex, we do have SAP system at place, but we have not connected any of our DCS system or exposed the DCS system to the external world or to SAP. The question here comes is then how do we go ahead on the digitization? So what we have done is the DCS runs the process of the plant. But what about the health of the asset? That is the most important part. As some of our previous speakers were talking about, a lot of sensors on the body doesn't mean that you are healthy. The question is that unless you monitor it and take the corrective action, both are essentially required. So what we have done as a proof of concept in one of our fertilizer plant is we have taken some critical compressors for ammonia and urea, and we are monitoring their vibration and temperature round the clock. Now this system is totally working on a wireless concept, number one. It is going to the cloud and it's not connected to DCS. Now the most important thing which is happening over here is that DCS is restricted only up to control room. Once the people of the shift or the people who are coming in the daytime, they are away from the plant, they are not aware of the status. So one important thing is that if there are any happenings, they can see online on their mobiles or on internet if they have computers at their home. So they can see the online pattern and then they can suggest, because in case of alarms, if the control room person informs him, then he can, after seeing the trends, he can inform him. So that is one of the good part over here as far as the old plants are concerned, where we are not able to make any new cuts or holes in the plant to measure either vibration or the temperature. Now as far as the new assets are concerned, what we have done is, see, the most important part is unless you measure something, you cannot control it. And if you are not able to control, you are not able to make it most optimized way to run. So what we have done is we have put in the new projects the large video screens, which actually gives the most important parameters of the plant to the operators. Now, once the operator sees that under what heat rate I am running in my shift, what are the various important alarms which are coming in the system. Now, if these are the things, alarms, if I talk it, one would say that it's an old kind of system. See, but I tell you, those were the days when we used to have hardwired alarms. There used to be windows which were glowing with bulbs. Those were only limited number of alarms. But now after DCS has come into the picture, there are a number of alarms are coming. Thousands of alarms are coming when the plant is abnormal. Now, how do we manage that? Because after all, in the digitization journey, we cannot sacrifice our productivity. So the most important part which we can do is the optimization or rationalization of the alarms. Alarm means an action which is required by the operator. It is just not for glowing the bulbs or making the hooters. An operator has to take some action. So in the new projects, what we have done is we have tried to optimize the alarm signals so that operator does the action what is actually really required. And then some kind of performance calculation packages, like in one of the newer power plants, we have installed the performance calculation package. Now, what does it give? It actually gives those figures which ultimately results into the efficiency of the boiler and turbine. Now, if a plant operator is aware of those important parameters, he can immediately see it, and then the corrective actions by the respective team can be taken. So as far as the new projects are concerned, these are the things which we have tried at our job. Now I'll tell you a very, very small example, but very interesting. In the chemical plants, sometimes the gas leakages take place. Now the normal kind of thing is we have a windsock, and we know that in which direction the wind is blowing. So accordingly, at the assembly point, the people have to gather. Now, daytime, fine, you can go and see. But what about the night times? So we have done a small experiment in our chemical plant. And what we have done is we have put a sensor on the top of the building, and then it is coming into the DCS. And we have made a graphic in which it shows in which direction the wind is blowing and at what are the assembly points on which the person can go and stand over there. A very, very small example, but a good example of using the technology. So there are things which can be easily done. The only thing is that, as I stressed earlier also, the cross-functional team has to be there, because if they are there, we can definitely work upon that. Similarly, we can use the technology to make PM orders on SAP, and PM orders should have some kind of good information which can be later used in the coming times to find out that what were the earlier causes and what were the corrective actions at that time which were taken, because that will help us to analyze the breakdown and in turn take the corrective actions. So this is another kind of a thing. And third thing is the mindset. See, the plant operation teams always think of that to run the process is their responsibility. But what about the health of the assets? So that mindset has to be changed, and the ownership has to go with all the team who are running the plant, so that at the end of the day we have a good efficient plant running continuously. But because the present kind of culture is a run to fail kind of a concept, which is normally being followed, because slowly the days will go when we will have only the preventive kind of a maintenance kind of system. So earlier we used to have, suppose there's a transmitter, you have to calibrate it once in a year. Okay, just one more minute.
Okay, sir.
Now what we are finding is the transmitters are having a 5 years guarantee of the calibration. Means the data, they don't have the drift. So this is the kind of a thing which are available. And similarly, in the case of control valves, you can have smart positioners, which can be connected to DCS, and then you can find out what is the problem with the control valve, because there are hundreds in numbers. So this is what I feel should be the way forward as far as the digitization is concerned.
Thank you, Vivek. I think taking a cue from your side, he will talk about the remote monitoring of plant as well as the business process re-engineering, which you talked about the mindset part. So over to Mr. Anant Patil.
Yeah, actually the different kind of controls or sensors or the information data we can collect on a particular platform, and we can send that data into the cloud, and remote monitoring can be done from the various offices of the plant. With the due respect to the data security, there are a lot of availability of data security features, and we can definitely work on that, and we are implementing that remote monitoring through digitalization. And by implementing this, top management or experts can assess the data, and analytics can be developed into the system to get this data to the head office or from the remote location, instead of getting data from plant and going and discussing with the plant personnel. Now with this remote monitoring plant, real-time data available on the click of the button for superiors, then also critical health checks that previously it was getting discussed. These sensors with the help of frequency, what could be the reason? Because there is a standard frequencies available where the actual cause can be diagnostic, and then that can be given to the feedback to the operator also. Then from historian and real-time data, experts can do quick RCA to resolve the issues, and experts can give solution remotely for plant operation. So these kind of lot of benefits are coming up also from by implementing special sensors on the equipment and collecting data like vibration, temperature, it was mentioned, analytics can be developed to get the preventive or predictive maintenance, and same can be scheduled accordingly. Thus, remote monitoring can add a lot of benefits, and then no need to depend on external agency or experts to visit plant, audit for plant operation efficiency or health checks. This way, the plant can become Aatma Nirbhar. But for achieving this, there are a lot of things need to be implemented before going for the digitalization. And major few crucial elements that I would say is the readiness to adopt the new technology and operation change in the plant. Also, the method of working and data capturing has to be changed. As I have already said, skill upgradation of manpower. Now, integration of various systems in the plant to talk each other for the data and information exchange is a must. Otherwise, getting one data from one system and then person analyzing it and going for the another system input, it becomes very laborious or time consuming, and you don't get quick reply or quick action points on that. And to do that, then SOP needs to be changed for activity flow, record of information and data. But in that same time, one has to remove a non-value adding activities. In old days of operation, there are a lot of non-value adding activities people are doing, which need lot of labor work as well as the manpower for doing that non-value adding activity. These can be clubbed and which can be removed from by doing the platform on remote monitoring. So for that, this process change has to be also be there, and some old machines to be replaced and instruments and sensors to be added with the IT infrastructure in factory and offices, so that they can talk to each other, because main business requirements are the what is the my cost of production and how can I reduce. So by integrating these softwares and data, we can find out the cost of production online by putting the data, cost data inside, and top people can immediately see. So the dashboards can be designed at various levels, operator level, supervisory level, plant in charge level, or top management level. And main worry is the factory and offices, are they connected and communicating to each other to get the real data for efficient plant operations. So by implementing remote monitoring as well as the IoT, we can club all these activities, and it gives the lot of benefit. And most of this one can be done by implementation of digitization and digitalization. Digital transformation is another thing when we want to bring the new business activity from this data. So such we have to go step by step in the chemical industry. First, we have to go for the digitalization, because chemical industry, most of the chemical industries are still not up to the mark of total.
Mr. Patil, would request if you can.
So, yeah, so this business process re-engineering is a must for chemical industry to go for the digitalization and digital transformation.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Deepak Keni. He talked about, Mr. Patil talked about IoT and the cost benefit analysis of Industry 4.0. I would request my remaining speakers to be short, because we have already overshoot the time. It was planned to be open for Q&A. So I request everybody to be short, and so that we can take the Q&A also. So to Mr. Deepak Keni, Industry 4.0, the cost benefit analysis.
Thanks, Praveen. I think a lot of concepts were talked about, different initiatives, focusing on the ROI part, cost benefit analysis, right? I will just split into two parts. One is brownfield and greenfield. Now the greenfield part is, I would say, slightly easier because you are investing in new infrastructure. And at that point, implementing IoT technologies as such become easier because your adoption can be higher. And given that it is a new plant, it has higher reliability. Now, what we have seen is for newer plants, which we have implemented, like say 2-3 years ago, the ROI from a new IoT and implementation, it's much shorter. In certain cases, 18 months, 24 months, right? But when I look at, and those drivers are most from a specific consumption, energy reduction, quality improvement, reliability, and breakdown. So in that case, as you say, new plants will have less of a breakdowns, right? So the ROI will be faster. Now, when we look at older technologies, older plants, sorry, which are some, in our cases, 30-35 years old, we found that the ROI is slightly difficult to prove. It is a slightly longer cycle, and the reliability in terms of the ROI is not there. In the sense, on paper, we can show ROI in the tune of 3 to 5 years. But then when it comes to implementation, because of the old plants and the reliability issues of the equipment, it becomes slightly difficult to prove. But from an overall perspective, I would say 18 months to 4 years would be the range of most of the implementations of these types of IoT technologies. And the drivers will be from an energy savings, quality improvement, production increase, yield, and those types of drivers. Breakdown, preventance in breakdown, right? Because that is one of the key elements. Plant shutdown costs are higher. So these drivers add to the costs, and that would be my range and a short answer to that.
Thank you, sir. I think there is no shortcut for digitization. Obviously, it takes a lot of time to implement, and the real benefits, or when you reap the benefits, it also takes a lot of time. So anybody who is planning to start or who is in the mid process, they should not be annoyed and have patience so that you can reap the benefits in the long run. Now I come to Aviva, Navanith, Mohan. Sir, there are not a lot of new technologies which are coming up, whether it is artificial intelligence, whether it is the augmented reality or the virtual reality, whether it is cloud. And how do you see these technologies playing into these digital transformation with respect to chemical industry?
Thank you, Praveenji. I know you're running short of time. I'll make it very quick. Right, we hear all these buzzwords, right? You talk about cloud, artificial intelligence, machine learning, AR, VR, and things like that. And most of the time, the challenge that the consumers or the customers face is how real are they? How do you apply it? So one example which I could talk about is during the initial stage of the pandemic, we suddenly saw a sudden increase in the use of our solutions on the cloud. Because of the situation, people moved from on-premise to cloud as they started working from home instead of their office space with the minimum IT infrastructure they had at home. Right? So we had our customers designing the assets from home using the engineering solutions on the cloud, monitoring the real-time operation data of their assets through the cloud, and even visualizing their asset for work planning and inspection through whatever technology that is available on the cloud. I think this was possible because of the way this technology has grown, in the sense that the cloud infrastructure available in the right geographies leading to less latency during usages, advanced security compliances, and things like that. So what is interesting to see is that they were able to do it with the same collaborative effort of working on an engineering project or running a complex asset, as if they were sitting in the same office building or in the same plant premise. So even though we have been talking about migration of the work process to the cloud, which has been planned as a long-term activity, suddenly got accelerated because of the pandemic and the need to keep the work uninterrupted and to go on schedule. So what we are seeing basically is the need and all this transformation getting accelerated because of the need that is there, not because of the strategy. And to just close off, we care a lot about what we face is the mindset when people are really worried about security and things like that. What we need to understand is that there are a lot of there are a lot of research that is going on in terms of data security and things like that. So if we can keep our office emails on our phone, that is the same technology that we may want to consider when we are keeping our data on the cloud. So cloud is, all these things are not myths anymore. These are very, very real. And we are having people who are making use of this technology for their real-time production use and getting the benefits out of it.
Thank you, Navanith. I'm announcing the winner for the second question is Mr. Vaibhav Bhinde, OSI Soft. Mr. Vaibhav Vinde from OSI Soft. Now I come to Meghav. Meghav, you said that it is digital as a component of culture initiatives at Deepak. And how do you see today as well as tomorrow?
So just to give a bit of context to that statement, digital as a component of culture. If I were to give my grandfather an iPhone, he will not do much with it. It has no inherent value in itself. Only when you are able to utilize it to its fullest extent, are you able to do a lot more with it? Are you able to get more value out of it? That's where we need to spend the time and effort in working with our people. We cannot just say that the millennial generation and the youngsters are going to come in and they expect digital and hence digital is the way forward. It's about bringing digital into their mindset, into, as someone said, into their DNA, as I say it, into our culture, into, everyday meetings, into discussions. And this really means that having a data mindset, asking about what the data shows, asking about how data is moving from up and down the value chain, understanding where there are blind spots, understanding where there is a lot of manual intervention for the data, and obviously understanding where and how data can get manipulated. Again, having a good understanding of the value chain of data and how it traverses that is one part of it. But the amount of data that all of the IoT systems and all can generate nowadays, it also might be overwhelming for our people. So we have to train them on how to draw insights out of data. And all of this, there are fantastic visualization tools and all available. But again, it's only a tool and it's not going to deliver for you. Your people are going to deliver for you. And that's where I emphasize, as digitally minded as I may be, I emphasize our organization to focus on helping our teams, helping our people become digitally minded as well. In the long run, we are spending a lot of time and effort on two main areas. If we look at a top-down approach of digital, it's to look at high-level risks for the organization and work towards eliminating those risks over time. And if you look on the x-axis, which is more a linear time component, we are talking about the experience of the people. We're talking about experience of the experience again of the value chain. And we start by looking at the experience that our suppliers have with our company, our employees have within our company, and our customers on the outside facing. There's definitely a high element of transactional experience over there. But if we can make that experience good, then the digital platform has kind of met its need. It's had a return on investment, even though it's not tangibly addressable in that manner. But there are inherent benefits to it. So over time, what we are seeing today and what we are seeing tomorrow, we're using this framework to determine how and where we should apply digital to de-risk and to improve the experience. Thank you. You're on mute.
Thank you, Meghav. My last and final question with respect to the competition was, who is the global CEO of LyondellBasell? Who is the global CEO of LyondellBasell? It's a Indian name, so I think some of them would be aware about it. So I would request everybody to type in their answers in the chat window. In the meantime, I would request Atul Govil, if he can talk about what are the achievements that his company has done with respect to digitization. Over to Atul.
Thank you, Praveen. So I think few important points which I would like to highlight is that one, we have created a kind of a central control tower, so to say, which acts like a nerve center for the entire value stream. So what we have done is, for one of our large factories based out of Uttaranchal, we have connected all these disparate control systems using Kepware and Splunk for the analytics piece to basically illuminate the entire value stream and thereby use it to identify and address opportunities with due prioritization. So that's what we have done. We understand that no, unless you measure something on a continual basis, you can't improve on it. So though we had these basic DCS PLC systems in these process plants and the utility plants, and because many of these plants were interconnected to each other, so the first thing first is what is setting up of this control tower, which we did successfully. We also initiated a smart energy monitoring setup, which is used for all the high wattage consuming and generating units, be it the LT-HT motors, be it the substations or transformers, the grid supply, so that we have a clear view, not just of the wattage terms, but also in terms of harmonics, current imbalance, voltage imbalance, and other parameters of interest, so that we are able to address it then and there, rather than looking at a shift end or a month end reporting. So that's what we did. Thereafter, we have also set up a smart warehouse as we speak, which is a state-of-the-art warehouse which we have set up using these kind of guided vehicles. That's something which we have set up. And of course, we are using technologies like RPA. We are adopting cloud big time. And one thing which I just want to highlight here is that ultimately, digital as a lever, it's essentially a lever to drive efficiencies and productivity, and of course expand your profit margins and increase your top lines. One thing I just want to highlight here, which is of extreme interest, is considering that there are so many new plants, so many new initiatives which are coming up in India, particularly considering that oil and gas sector is going through a rough patch globally, not in India in particular, globally, because of the crude oil prices dropping and electrical mobility coming up. Now, what is happening is many of these entities are actually trying to figure out what kind of setups do they create to for downstream chemicals, which means the incumbents like us and many others would need to look at areas to differentiate themselves, either by doing mass customization of our products, or maybe allowing dynamic assignment of our assets, plant assets, better quality by getting first time right, and lower prices, of course, by increasing yields, lower specific energy consumptions. All of this would not be possible just by continuing the way we have been operating till so far. It would need digital interventions. We don't want to boil the entire oceans, but certainly you will have to eliminate those blind spots, and also be able to take those initiatives or those corrective actions on a real-time basis, rather than looking at those data points in some manual logbooks on a retrospect basis. So this is what briefly I wanted to take it forward.
Thank you, Mr. Atul. Now I would request Vimal Puri ji, if he can talk about the cost of industrial IoT devices and their implementation. If he can finish in 2 to 3 minutes, and then we will take three questions, because everybody is awaiting for the questions. Over to Mr. Vimal Puri.
Thanks, Praveen. So primarily, when we talk about cost of IoT devices or IoT implementation or buying a sensor, I mean, cost depends on the type of machines you have and availability of existing hardware within the machine. So, I mean, it varies, but yes, it varies from depending on the number of machines you have and the type of sensors you are looking at. So the cost vary primarily. And from the cost side, if you see, cost is critical to implement the application, but the important is that my machine is capable of handling that particular sensor or not. Because sometimes what happens, you have a low cost sensors available, but it is very difficult to place those sensors within the machine because of the dimensions or other aspects of the machine. So cost is very, very critical to get the ROI on that. So if we talk about, say, if you're working on performance optimization of a plant, so if you have existing data set already available, so what you can do, you can actually do a optimization, even predictive analytics or advanced analytics, what people normally use as a name. So you can optimize reaction outputs and molecule management also through that. I mean, so the cost for those kind of analytics will vary, and definitely now you have an ecosystem which is already supporting a low cost sensor, but the important is not only the cost, it's the accuracy of that sensor is very, very critical. Because when we talk about a plant and that to a nature in chemical, so the accuracy is very, very critical in the plants. So what we have done is that we have worked upon various projects where we have seen that what problem we are solving, and then relating whether this cost is justifiable to solve that problem or not. But sometimes cost is not important, safety aspect or sustainability or compliance also becomes important. So it's not that every time you look at the cost and do the projects. So if we see, we have done projects in various areas of growth and innovation to support the business, where we have done a projects to enable the collaboration platforms, where we have actually reduced time to market for the new products. And also we have done a work on capturing untapped value opportunities to reduce waste by harvesting insight from the new data streams. So that is another area where you actually can work in terms of kind of a prediction, kind of a consumption monitoring. So what is my cost to cost is all relative depending on the problem I'm going to solve and the return I'm going to get it from that investment. So it's not about the cost, it's about the investment. So we should look any implementation from a investment perspective, not from the cost perspective. That's my take on that.
Thank you, Mr. Bimal Puri ji. Before I open it up for Q&A, I would request to play a video of Nokia. Why Nokia? Because I was trying to see how the telecom world has utilized the smart factory concept, and how whether the technologies that we talked about, whether AI, whether robotics, whether AR, VR, whether cloud, whether 5G or whether 4G, all these things can be amalgamated, and how this can be deployed by factories to make it more smart. So that's the reason I'm playing this video, and then we will take up the Q&A.
Nokia facility at Chennai with best-in-class infrastructure spread over 140,000 LTE and 5G NR products in India. Its surface mounting technology is the best in class, having high speed and precise placement accuracy SMT machines with a capacity of 12.8 billion components per year, with complete end-to-end component traceability. Factory MES application with 3D automated optical and X-ray inspection capabilities is designed to control and manage shop floor operations to ensure each product is built right the first time and every time. These lines also have high-speed and accurate depaneling machines that help in ensuring product quality. Having implemented robotics and automation in manufacturing processes at this facility, our highly skilled and trained workforce is deployed for specially assigned tasks like filter tuning and hand soldering. Filter tuning is a combination of arts and science, which requires high degree of skill and training to master. RFID-based qualified personal access system is deployed to ensure the right people for the right job, and to sustain the product quality and renewal of knowledge and skill of the stage operators. The facility is equipped with cutting-edge technology and a state-of-the-art storage system with multi-tier racking and handling equipment systems. It has also implemented one of the advanced solutions of unmanned automatic guided vehicle for material handling, which reduces workforce fatigue by 80% and increases productivity. Awards and certifications from prestigious organizations, namely Bureau of Indian Standards, Confederation of Indian Industries, National Safety Council of India, DL Shah National Quality Award Council, and Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce.
So now coming back to, thank you, my all panelists. I'm now taking few questions from our esteemed delegates. One is from Mr. Jinesh Giwala. How do you ensure digital way is the new way of life? And I would request our sponsors, Mr. Navanith, Mohan, and person from Emerson, to give a short answer, Mr. John Rodrigues. Digital way is the new way of life.
Okay, can I go first?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the one thing is, like I mentioned, digital. It is a new way of life. It is a journey, like not a project. And I think it is important to start small and achieve smaller projects which can help people, which can get your stakeholder buy-in within the company, and then scale up. Like I mentioned, you build the networks, you build the data lakes around it, and then you can implement your AI ML programs, and a lot of use cases is one way to go.
And Navanith, if you can answer shortly.
So it's about focusing on the most important things, right? Focusing on the most important things that is important to the organization. And it always have to be broken down to small pieces. You cannot try to roll out an enterprise level digital transformation in the beginning itself. We need to identify what are the incremental steps that we need to take. And what we have seen with the most successful digitization programs is you start small in one focus area and then move on to the other areas as well. So that is the best way to go.
Navanith, one more question to you is, this is from Mr. Mayuresh Mokal, and I think this is more important, and you would be the right person. How do you deal with clients' confidential information, especially when your product is on a cloud platform? I think this question would be asked by many people around. So
every day, because it's about the client's IP. When we talk to the customers on putting their data on the cloud, it's about the IP, it's about their business. So what we need to understand is that these are all the cloud systems are being audited with the latest security standards. These are all encrypted data with the most latest technologies, and it's not just one industry, right? We could see the nuclear power plants and the marine industry with the naval vessels and things like that. All these data are being published in the platform. So in terms of security, it's 100% secure. There are standard global practices and the certification that is applied on these technologies.
One question was for Mr. Viraj Parekh. He talks about what are the key areas or functions with the chemical industry where digitization will help to enhance and improve efficiencies and make us highly competitive globally. Let me answer this. Viraj, I think for all operations, you require deployment of, digitization. You talk about the function, and digitization is required. So there is no doubt, and you have already heard from all our speakers that they have deployed in their respective companies and how they have benefited from this in terms of efficiency and productivity. There is one question from Mr. Kumaresh Mishra: how to digitally monitor transportation of chemicals for safety and roadside assistance. So he's talking more about logistics, sir. So anybody who would like to take from our speaker side on the logistics part, how digital can help in further improvement? Meghav, if you can.
That's a very good question, because there is so much of chemicals of ours on the road, in tankers and in trucks. The way we are currently monitoring is, of course, GPS-enabled devices in all the trucks, all the vehicles. We want to constantly know exactly where it is. There's automatic algorithms that pick up if there are crashes or if there are accidents or if there are unscheduled stops. to even prevent things like pilferage and adulteration of product. There are more advanced techniques that are coming into market, and this is again going into the spectrum of IIoT, where there are actually devices that can look at driver drowsiness. There is to the extent even of having breathalyzers before the vehicles can be turned on to detect whether there has been alcohol consumption before a driver is about to drive. And last but not least, we do set up control towers at all of our facilities to ensure that there's clear visibility between us, between the transporters, between our suppliers, and between our customers of exactly where material is at any given point in its supply chain journey.
Thank you, Meghav. I'm taking this last question. This is with respect to how companies plan for their capex during this transformation. Who would like to take this? Mr. Bimal Puri.
Yeah, I just want to tell you this journey, what you're talking about from the capex perspective. Now, most of the companies, especially post-COVID, are not worried much about taking the capex. Yes, big capexes because of the current pandemic are on hold. That I agree. And but yes, from a long-term perspective, everybody internally is working on these investments to make sure that the plant works on an autonomous basis. And when we have a situation where we cannot come inside the plant, or we have to maintain certain environmental issues and the safety aspects in mind. So capexes with respect to these implementations are being appreciated within the organization. So I don't see that a challenge nowadays that a management is afraid of investing in these technologies.
Last word with Mr. Navanith Mohan and Mr. John Rodrigues on this particular, if you can give a brief answer in terms of capex planning during transformation. What is your advice, final advice?
I think, a lot of the companies, when we talk about capex, are hesitating to invest that much because they're not sure of the ROI. They're not sure of what are the returns are going to be. So what we are also working on is a lot of subscription level, discussions where we have equal stake in the whole process of digital transformation. So subscription would be one way to go, so that your spending is OPEX and not really, you're not dipping into your capex budget, and you're seeing returns while you're paying when you pay back.
Navanith, your last word.
Well, this is very similar to what Mr. John said. We have flexible consumption model, which helps the organization to lower their total cost of ownership. So it will give you flexibility in terms of how you purchase, design, and use the industrial software. You can use any software, any scale, which can be accessed anywhere. It gives you kind of control about what software you want to use, or the combination of solution that you want to use, because you're not talking about softwares here. We are talking about software solutions. So for each of the implementations or deployment we are talking about, it's not just one piece of software, it's a host of solutions. So that helps you control your capex investments. So it's mostly OPEX.
So to thank all my panelists for staying with us and exceeding the timelines that we had set, because we had a lot of things today. It was an interactive session. We had the quiz, we had the videos from the two videos that we had, which gave an example of how digital transformation is being deployed in Covestro. And you also heard about all Indian companies, how they have deployed in their own way with respect to different business units, or with different plans that they do have with respect to digitization. I would like to thank all colleagues who patiently heard this and also participated in answering the quiz or the questions that we put in, the 5 questions. Let me also announce the winners for the third question, which was on who is the Union Cabinet Minister for Chemicals and Fertilizers in India. This was Mr. D.V. Sadanand Gowda ji. And the winner for the third is Mr. Saurabh Tripathi from the Sanmar Group. So thank you, Saurabh. He sits in Delhi for winning this prize. The fourth question was, what is the full form of IIoT? It is Industrial Internet of Things. And the winner is Janish Giwala from Endress and Hauser. And the answer is Industrial Internet of Things. He was the one who also posed a lot of questions to us. He posed 2 questions. I took only 1. So he is very active. And the last was who is the global CEO of Lindell Bessel? And it was Mr. The short name is Bob Patel, and the long name is Bhavesh P. Patel. Looks to be an Indian, NRI. And the winner is Mr. Nirav Upadhyay from Artel Flow Control Private Limited. So we had this interesting, and seeing the response of the digitization seminar, ICN is planning to do another series on digitization apart from the Aatma Bharat series that we are already doing. Just for your information, we are doing Aatma Bharat series on R&D on November 6th, where we are getting a good panel. Then on PSUs that we are doing, which is on December 4th. Then we are doing on the collaborative approach to make chemical industry Atmanirbhar, which is on December 18th. I would like to thank once again everybody for being part of this Indian Chemical News Atmanirbhar Bharat Chemical Series. As you have already supported us for every say sessions, I would once again thank you and see you off from here. Bye. And I would thank all the winners and give them a big hand of clap from our side. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Praveen ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Praveen ji.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Praveen.
Mr. Bimal Puri ji, Meghav Mehta ji, Navanith Mohan ji, Deepak Keni ji, Atul Govil ji, Anant Patil ji, Bharat Awasthi ji, Vivek Gupta ji, John Rodrigues ji, everybody. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.